Thanks for joining us on Newsnight. I am Ladi Akeredoluale. It's our pleasure to have you be with us today. A major discussion on the costs of governance, around which a consensus is building, has continued to take place. Many, in different ways and from different perspectives, have preferred solutions. One of such is the suggested reduction in the number of political office holders. And the novelty here is that it's coming from the legislature, throwing up some interesting perspectives. My guest is the chairman of the Senate Committee on Culture and Tourism, former governor of Imo State, Okorocha. Senator Okorocha, thank you for your time. Welcome to Newsnight.
Thank you very much.
Now, before we come to more other contemporary issues, let's start with your statement on the floor of the Senate concerning reducing the cost of governance. My first question will be, why? Why did you make that statement? What motivated you?
Well, that statement was made out of genuine concern for our nation. And because of the situation we find ourselves, and to state categorically that we have some challenges in our nation. And so there was need for us to look inwards and take some kind of drastic action or measures to help ourselves as a nation. And I made a point clearly that if we keep doing the same old things, the same old ways, we shall keep getting the same old results. It was out of a patriotic statement. And I wasn't doing that to save myself. I was like talking to myself, my colleagues. And the point comes from the fact that you see that our economy is a mono economy, dependent on one source of income, one major source of income, except for the customs and tariffs, which also the people pay the pence now. That's the oil. And that has remained our only source of income as a nation. And we have not been able to develop the productive sector of our economy, which makes us a consumer's nation, consuming nation. It's out of serious concern. And if you ever see a smoke anywhere coming out of any roof in this country, it's not a smoke of production for export. It's a smoke for food to eat, consumption. And that's not good for our nation, and it's not good for generations yet unborn. So all of a sudden, our country has become a dumping ground. And so we need to do something to cut down on cost of governance. And where are the lawmakers? And everything that revolves about government revolves around us. We are the pivot upon which all the wheels of government rotates, be it executive or judiciary. We determine what the executive does, and we also determine the laws the judiciary interprets. So the us lies with us. We are the engine room of the nation. And I think we have failed to understand this. Because
before we come to that,
yes.
Let me ask you this. You've gotten, since you made this proposal, even amongst your colleagues, you've gotten quite a bit of pushback. Some of them have been supportive of the idea of reducing the cost of governance. But others have raised the question, how do you reduce this number without an amendment of the Constitution? And then if you amend the Constitution, who gets to go away and who gets to stay? After all, this is politics.
Yes. See, this is where the people get it wrong. You know, in Nigeria, they don't allow you to land before they come in and take the pieces and bits the way they want to understand it and run away with it. You're never given time to fully develop your ideas. And that's the problem. Unless you sing the national anthem, which everybody is used to, then everybody will agree with you. Or you come on television and say, listen, we need to tell police to do this and make sure they provide security. Presidency should provide roads, judiciary should, then everybody will do. It's the same old story, which does not, every time you bring a practical idea, you don't want to accept it. The point we're making, this constitution is a grand norm. It's a document made by us, we the people of Nigeria. It was not made for the constitution. That paper was made for us, and it's our paper. If we have the will, political will, we can change it to suit our circumstances. It's not cast on stone. It's not a rocket science to change the constitution of a people. It might take the process, which is provided by the constitution. But if we agree, we can do it. What if our nation is in danger as it is now? Excuse me. I think when this constitution was made, and we're not, it was unmindful of the fact that issues of Boko Haram, Zabisa will come up. The Northeast crisis, it never envisaged that. It didn't envisage the issue of kidnapping in Kaduna now. It didn't envisage in the unemployment rate we find today and the hunger level that we find today. In some states of our nation now, you say there's kwashiorkor, traces of it. Why should it be? So this constitution never envisaged this kind of danger that we face ourselves. And a nation that is faced with extreme danger of insecurity and poverty should think of the wisest course of action. And I call it sacrifice. It's not actually a sacrifice. It's patriotism. So patriotism is not only in the fear of the law, but in the love of one's country. This is a time to dramatize love. So for those who do not understand, and they made it as if it was a personal issue, but they are my friends. I love them. We have wonderful relationship I have wonderful relationship with all the senators. But our nation first, Nigeria first. I spoke this because I wondered about those poor people who hardly feed a day. I worry about those who are living in fear in Kaduna or Zamfara or Imo or Borno. I worry about the bloodletting on daily basis, and which requires people are more attracted to crime now than before. Because the easiest job you can get now is to criminal activities. Even the saints now are getting into criminal activities. So it's no longer that your parents are not thieves, so you can't be a thief. Only those whose parents have the gene of crime that can be. Now, if even the good ones are joining, because when they wake up a day, there's no job. What's the next available thing? They tell you that a gun can work. Harassing somebody will work. So I'm worried about Nigeria of tomorrow. So people who don't understand will understand that I didn't make this in a bad faith. I made this in good faith, knowing that, listen, we need to cut down the cost of governance.
Have you sounded out some of your colleagues? Because even previously, before you made this proposal, other attempts to adjust the constitution, to amend it, have taken a very tedious turn. It's taking so much time. And then ultimately, many of those proposals don't scale through, because even the constitution that you described, the process it describes for amending it is described by some as very tedious. First, the National Assembly has to do it, then they send it to the states.
Yes.
Then 2/3 of the states will agree, and then send it back to the National Assembly. And so at some point during that process, many of those ideas die. Have you sounded out some of your colleagues? You pointed out you've been in Senate only for 4 months. Have you sounded out some of your colleagues about how viable this is going to be to get this through this process?
Yeah, of course. I have discussed with some of my colleagues to make them understand. Some of the questions being raised is that, would the senator be as powerful as a governor? That's number one question. I think that's not relevant to the discussion, to discuss. Number 2 points that I've made. But they also said, hey, come on, if you're saying that we should cut down the number of
senators and House
of Reps, who goes and who stays? I don't understand what that means. And some people say, well, what if you have different tribes in a place? You have within the same, like plateau, where you have different languages and tribes and all this. Then ask them a question, why do you have one governor? I said, a governor is for the state. You are represented at the federal level. It's good enough. There are 3 other federal house members. And I'm not saying it should start with this present, this is because the constitution has covered this, but we should make effort that in the subsequent distance, it will cut down costs. And let me tell you what that means also. If we cut down the cost of this, the National Assembly, number of senators, it also cut down the cost of INEC electioneering. Today we have 120,000 polling booths. Are you aware? 120,000 polling booths in Nigeria. And INEC last time requested President requested 242 billion to support INEC for the election. And I'm sure before then, certain money were in the budget, about 189 billion naira. Now, put 189 billion naira plus 242 billion. That's almost giving you 430 billion naira. And I'm sure with other monies coming around, that might be about 480 billion. Divided by 120, it means that we spend about 4 million naira, for God's sake, to conduct one election in one vote. It amidst our poverty. And the election doesn't come out perfect because there are litigations, court cases that goes with it. It's to hire the lawyer, and it creates acrimony and anger and pains. Now, this is what you get. And I'm sure the people that go on for the campaign also spend billions of naira. Let me tell you, for every election Nigeria conducts, we spend nothing less than 1.5 trillion naira every year for election campaigns, conduct of election, aftermath of election. Now, that same amount of money we're trying to borrow to help our country, while it is within. This is one. While the effort to curb issue of corruption is still there, as it might be giving its result gradually, but we need to also cut down. When we become like America, for God's sake, then we can put 20 senators per state. I will support it. So it is just a question of, and I'm not saying that I want to stay. If he comes and he has to say one representative, I will agree. If I have to step down, I will step down. But I know I have 3 senators. And with those 3 senators, I know one of us can represent Imo State. But the people don't understand. Now it's getting a big noise everywhere. Rocha, as I've said, cut down, as if I'm doing something that is unacceptable.
Part of the noise it has created is that people are asking the question that why is it you who is making this proposal, especially because while you were governor, that's their view, you didn't cut down the cost of governance. You actually increased the cost of governance in Imo. You created more ministries. There was the Ministry of Happiness and Fulfillment, amongst others. You had an army of aides, SSAs, SAs, and so on and so forth. And that's so, for you to leave governance at the state and then come to the federal, and within 4 months of you being in the Senate, you're asking them to cut down, knowing fully well that sometimes these decisions are taken for political, not economic reasons.
Why should it be for political?
Why did you have so many aides?
I'm assuming you are wrong, but assuming I did that and I realized it was not good for the system, what makes it wrong for me to say at the national level that we shouldn't do it?
Yeah, well, people say that the antecedents are different.
But let me explain to you. I think at this point, I might have to just talk a bit. Now, listen to me carefully. This will take me to a different topic. And I wish I've always had time to explain to this nation this whole idea I think I have. Where we needed more people is at the grassroots. Now, when I set up Community Government Council in Imo State, I created a 4th tier of government, which you now might think is expensive. I had federal government. It's part of
what people are saying.
I have federal government, I have state government, and I have local government, and I had also community government. And I did that for 2 purposes, one for agriculture and security, bringing government down to the grassroots. Now, I had option of spending 5 billion naira to put cameras, or 20 billion naira to put cameras all over Imo State to catch armed robber. Or I use the 100 million naira, 20,000 naira to all the traditional rulers, or 50,000 monthly, to help me address the issue of security in their community. That's wisdom. And so you have representative at that youth leader, woman leader at that community government to come, because that was my own style. This point I'm making here about cutting down the costs of governance at the federal level is that the federal government has big head, too big a head. Let me describe Nigeria for you. Nigeria is that nation whose head is like a huge mountain with a small tummy, which is like a small bucket, and with a feeble leg called local government. And that economy is walking and dangling every time. So anytime the bullet of dropping oil fires that head, the whole nation is dangling and confused, because we have not fattened the dam. And this is what is called now. That's what is called top-bottom approach, which we are preaching in this country. What I did that place was what is called bottom-top approach. It's because the total number of Nigerians are in the rural areas. Now, if I use my word again, you go back to barbarism. But I once created an economic terminology for this. I call it ohashiarism as against ofushiarism.
What's the difference
Now,
between
okay. Oha
the two?
shareism is an Igbo word. Oha, the people. Shareism, share ofonye, that is cooking for one individual. If your whole community cook for you, you can't finish it. But if you, the federal government now, cook for the whole of your community, they'll be hungry. You don't understand what I'm saying?
I'm trying to follow you.
Okay. Now, Oha shareism, Oha means the crowd, the society or group of masses or people. If you have about 1,000 people cooking for you to eat, you alone as a presenter, and each one cooking rice for you, you can't finish it. Am I right?
Yes.
Because you can't consume what 1,000 people have produced.
Yes.
But if you, in the reverse case, prepare food for them, they will eat and be hungry. I hope I'm able to put these economic terms to you.
I understand that, but I'm
Okay.
still trying to establish the link between that and you making the bottom very heavy, while at the same time advocating reduction in the cost of governance.
That's right. No, because at the bottom now, that's where the masses are. Okay, just understand what I'm saying. At the head, this is the federal government now. Shedding is wet. Am I right?
Now making the
because
legs
we are
stronger.
coming to the Abuja now. Once you're a senator or a federal member, you belong to the federal. You are it is the head. Look at how many number of people have come to Abuja after being senator. How many have come back home? Everybody's living back here in Abuja. So that is what you call urban tripping. People are moving from rural area to the urban areas on constant, and the rural areas are busy going down and down and down. So when you put a little amount of money at the grassroots, it's satisfying because that place there within a small community. Remember, community are a group of people who share common interests, who understand themselves. So even when you check corruption at community level, whatever you do at community level, that is the Rochanomics theory I've been trying to provide. You can't go wrong with it. Take for instance, when I introduced community government, I was giving them 100,000 naira a month to run the affairs of the community. So community effort started. They will go and, if there's any roof that goes off from their school, the committee will come together and use 5 naira to nail it. And that 100,000 naira, nobody can eat it. You don't dare, because they will kill you. But if the money is with local government, a local government chairman will spend, where I spend 10,000 to do a job, local government chairman will spend 500,000 to do the same job. And when the money moves out of local community, they think it's no longer their property. The strongest government we have in this country is community government. And that's why I said more responsibility should give it to the traditional rulers if we want to start the bottom-top approach. So this is the point I'm making. So the point I'm making is simply that in the case of shedding of this, if you decentralize, like if you do that in the police, you do that in the army, health, education, every aspect of our economy, every aspect of our department, it will be stronger. Because when you are shedding, you are enriching that. Rather than having these people come to federal, let them represent that at the state level. If there's need for you to increase it.
Those who are listening to you will think you are an advocate of restructuring.
No, restructuring now means a different thing now to different people. Where some people are saying
No, but
give regional power. I'm talking about regional power.
No. In the chair where you are sitting was Chief John Wodo,
yes,
who said that basically restructuring means devolving powers and responsibilities and funding and so on further down.
Of course. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. That's the only way Nigeria can move forward. Because the best way of government is to allow people to govern themselves. You know, we're governing now, and it wouldn't go far. Let me tell you. What difference are you expecting? Can you see all the effort government is putting to change things and make things, fighting corruption, fighting this, produce power? You see all the effort, sleepless night. I pity the executive, what they go through. But nothing will move. Because there are many spectators in this country with few players. That's why I don't watch football. You know why I don't watch football? After the football game, only those 22 players get medal. Others who have been clapping and do everything just go home, waiting for another one to watch. This is the kind of economy we practice. There are many spectators. Can we get the grassroots, activate them? What can they produce? For God, who has created any man, has given him something in him that he can do. So these are some of the principles we are preaching, what people don't understand. And it looks radical a bit, but that's the only way out. If not, we'll keep getting the same old result from the old things we have been doing.
Now, you in your statement about explaining reducing the general cost of governance, you talked about the executive and so on. And then it brings me, when you talk about the election, it brings me to your own situation with the election. You won the Imo West senatorial seat, but then INEC withheld your certificate of return, even though they've given it to you. But they withheld it because their official in your district alleged that you held him at gunpoint and made him announce that result. Of course, the case has since gone to court, and that's why I feel free to ask you about it. The case has since gone to court, and they've been asked to give you your certificate. But Senator Okorocha, were you at that election center on that day?
Let me ask you a question. Do I know that what can is gone?
I wouldn't know. That's why I'm asking you.
Well, let me tell you. You see, this is another problem with our this democratic structure we have. And I want to talk about it as part of court of governance. Now, taking you to the story of what happened in Imo State would be a long story about that, but let it be seen that the competent court of jurisdiction has proved that there was nothing like that. And when the gentleman said, people got it wrong. At first, the story was Rochas got him under duress. But during his witness, he said Rochas never touched him, nor talked to him. That somebody came through the window and told him that his life is in danger. That's the duress he meant. And the police officer who was there seated with him in camera shown testified that there was nothing of that nature. SSS was there, the whole INEC officials from Abuja, the EOs were there, all the returning officers from other local governments were there. Then Rochas must have come in a spirit and put something, forced him to do. I think the gentleman was trying to do a hatchet job, which failed on his face, and he didn't know how to report to his masters who paid him for the hatchet job to say, hey, listen, this thing couldn't go through or something. So they manufactured those fabricated fallacies, which does not reflect any practical realities.
What went wrong between you and Mr. Adams Oshomole? I remember the last time I spoke to you, you were his biggest cheerleader. You went all across the country campaigning for him when he was to become APC national chairman, both in your capacity as Imo State governor and in your capacity as chairman of the Progressive Governors Forum.
If I was told, if I was in my dream, I was told that I'll be treated the same way, I would have said, no, it's not possible. But I'm yet to, one day I think, opportunity may occur that I might hear from Adam what really went wrong. Because till today I'm very much confused as to what could go wrong. I've tried to make excuses for Adam to say, probably somebody must have gossiped or do something that he believed in that does not exist. Or alternatively, that it must be a search for political power and relevance or something. Or it would have been who he is, ab initio, that he now tried to manifest later. I don't know. But whatever has happened in APC was still like a dream to me. Because APC had no reason to lose him. And do you know all the people they imposed in the state lost the election, except the people that I personally that were working with me. For instance, my principal secretary came back as a federal house member. My commissioner for finance came back as a federal house member. My deputy chief of staff came back as a federal house member. My deputy speaker of the House Assembly came back as a federal house member. I came back as a senator of the Federal Republic, all from the same political grouping that started the politics. But every other person that was not within the group lost election. That's to tell you how bad it was. I was a founder of APC. I was a hero of APC in the Southeast. You can't take that away from me. And until some of us address the issue of APC, I don't think it will be the same in the Southeast as it's ever been. So I don't know what is the problem. I don't know what went wrong. You know,
people expected you to leave.
You know, in this country, very funny things happen. And you know what is the worst thing I've seen in being at this leadership level in this country? Is that men gossip like kids. People that you should take serious, that handle the affairs of nations. Sometimes you see them gossiping like children in the midnight, the night. And that's how they survive. Gossip about this, but bring him down, run him down, go to this. If they know somebody is going to help you, they go there and run you down first to start with. So the person thinks you're evil, and so they can get on. This is their system. And some of us are too big for that kind of practices. So,
I asked the question People expected you to leave.
Why should I leave a house?
Because you complained very badly about how you were treated.
Of course, I
You've
complained.
repeated it here
Yes.
now. People expected you to leave.
But I will not leave. And if I will leave, I'll let you know. But it's not in my plans now to leave APC. Because if I remember that bonding that we had, that's a family. For me, APC was more of a family. I saw that we came under the brotherhood and friendship. I remember one day I was addressing Mr. President. I said, Mr. President, remember this is a family in one of our neck. And I called all the governors as chairman. I said, come and take a bow before the general. That all those was in the trenches fighting. I thought we had a family. That's what I thought. But this thing just came like a wild wind that shocked me in the thing. So that's how it is for now.
How are you sorting that out? Are you sorting it out? Are you seeking to sort it out?
There's nothing to sort out. Time will take care of things. There's nothing to sort out now. Election is gone.
Because you're still fighting quite a lot of battles. I mean, your successor in Imo,
yes,
the successor government in
Yes.
Imo is
Yes.
accusing you of a lot of things.
yes,
And in fact, some of your family members
yeah,
have been questioned, called in for questioning, both by security agencies and then by the anti-corruption agencies as well. So it's an ongoing battle, which is why I asked the question
But when you say
that
battle,
maybe all of these battles are connected.
yeah, when you say battle means somebody's fighting and you're fighting back. I have never fought back. It will shock you.
Why?
I've never.
Why?
I don't need to do that because I still see myself as a father. And if people are making mistakes and people are doing what is not right, you guide them. Unless when it becomes necessary to fight. And if I fight, Nigeria will know I fight. I'm not fighting at all. I've not even said anything. If you watch, I've never said anything.
But the accusation of shoddy projects, how would you, if you don't fight the personal battle, the accusation that your government executed shoddy projects, surely you would want to refute that if it isn't true.
But let me tell you, I have boasted here several. I hate to sound boisterous, but on many occasions I have sounded this to everybody that cares to know. I said Rochas Okorocha, and I say it again. I've said more than 10 television stations. I said to many people, I said to them, the only way I can describe what I've done in Imo State is for you to imagine all that has been done in Imo State before my coming put together is not equal to what I've done. How does that sound? And I've said this, I'm yet to wait to somebody. I wish you can go now and meet the governor of Imo State, ask him this question that Rocha said, that what we have done is not 1/10 of what he has done. What do you have to say? Or other governors put together have done. I thought it was a thought-provoking. I thought I was making a challenge in the system. That's what it should be in a civilized world. There's someone who come and say, you did this, you did this, you didn't do this. I've told them, listen, how would you say, the first international cargo airport in Imo State, I built it. The cargo airport and shares and everything. And it was adjudged the best in the country by far. Ask them. Now, I built 30 hospitals. Some of them completed, most of them not completed, but there's none that has those roof ties and everything, only equipping. I built one of the best state high court, the best prison, the best police headquarters outside this one of St. Edu's death. I don't have there's anyone like this again in this country. I built the first and second best flyovers that has never in Imo State ever. I changed all the roads in Imo State capital from 2 lanes to 8 lanes.
But these are the same roads they are saying that are substandard and that they were washed away with the first rains that came afterwards.
Now, can you go to Imo? It's not true. It's not true. I saw somebody going to the government house and picking a toilet and say, this is the toilet where Rochas or the government house in Rochas. It's not true. I've been one of the best government houses in this country, one of the best. And somebody can go and take a picture somewhere and plant it. Can you ever, my problem with you journalists is that you're not involved in investigative journalism. I wish this happen somewhere, they will pick the people and say, okay, let's go with a camera. Let's go and see whether this is what this man is telling, whether he's lying. Or say the truth. But why don't you go investigate?
Of course, we have done the investigation. That's why I'm asking you the questions. Let me give you an example.
Yes.
Now, in the case of the Nigerian Union of Pensioners in Imo State, they held a press conference to say that you are owing them, that your administration was owing them 80 months in arrears of pensions.
It's not true. Now, have you gone there to investigate? Now you are changing the topic now.
No, I'm not changing the topic.
Okay,
I'm giving you an example.
Now, okay, let me finish.
In the case of the two flyovers you mentioned, I can also give you the National Society of Engineers.
Yes.
Visited those two bridges, and it
Yes.
was at the site of those two bridges
Yes.
that they said that they were shoddily done, and that they had told you that they were shoddily done
No, it's
before
not
you
true.
left.
It's not true. That is a lie from the pit of hell. These are just political. When somebody asks you to give him consultancy for a job, he doesn't get it. He can write in nonsense. This is Nigeria. And Imo is known for petition writing. Go today, put 100 trailers for 5 tons on that bridge. If you collapse, anything wrong with it, I resign as a senator. Again, I'm challenging you. How best can you say that? And I've done more than 2,000 projects, verifiable. I don't know whether you understand this.
So why is there controversy over the universities and polytechnics you set up just before you left?
What controversy? Simply because lack of vision. I built 6 universities, 4 polytechnics, 2 colleges of education. Who has beaten the record in the history of that state? And I had these 6 universities. What's the problem? If you can't run the university, say you cannot run it. But you know, NUC cannot give you a license unless they have seen the structures. I got 6 licenses for Imo State. To tell you, and tell me who has built 6 universities. And because during my period, my time off as a governor, we have the highest jam bite in the whole nation for the past 8 years. Are you aware of that? When I was having 143,000 jam bites, those taking for jam, the next was Delta with about 67,000. Others were coming far below 40, 30,000 in this country. That was the record I set.
So it was,
I'm the first
it was to fulfill that you set up the
university because we have too many people. And secondly, I want to shock you by saying this. Do you know I had free education in Imo State for 8 years running? No child better than university, secondary school. And school children were provided with lockers and this thing. My school population grew from 263,000 to almost 1 million. Street trading was almost vanished.
As at the time you were leaving, were you owing?
I never, but I said that. Don't you people listen, gentlemen?
I'm asking you.
So
I have you here directly opposite me.
I made the statement clear that I don't owe any bank any 1 naira before I left office. And I even was sounding insulting to all the banks. I said any bank that thinks I owe them, they should say it before I leave, 3 months prior to my leaving, or forever keep their mouth shut. To today, no bank has said Imo State is on them. Are you shocked to hear that? And when I left 48.1 billion naira behind.
But your successor is contending all this. And yet you say you won't find back. It's difficult for Nigerians to understand what exactly is going on. If what is being said is not correct, why don't you set the record straight?
I know Rochas. I know my nature. I'm highly misunderstood in this country. Some people define me from different angles. Now, you see what he's doing there in Imo? If I do 1/10 of it, the whole world will hear about it.
Let me give you another one that you can debunk.
Okay.
If it is.
Please go ahead.
They say you talk about reducing the cost of governance.
That's right.
Yet, there is a very generous pension law that many of your colleagues in the Senate who are former governors are enjoying both the pension as former state governors and then they are receiving salaries in the National Assembly. That instead of reducing the number of senators, why don't we start by removing those pension laws that enable them enjoy 2, in some cases 3 salaries, apart from the fact that they will also benefit from severance allowance when they leave the Senate.
Did you know, as you're talking now, it's just occurring to me, I never received pension before, so I don't know what you're talking about pension. Now, you're reminding me that there's a pension somewhere. I can't even remember. you know, for my 8 years in office, I never took salary and security vote. I forfeited my security vote just to create free education. That's my sacrifice. Now, coming to the Senate now, it's a similar thing. I created the office of the senator where they put the salary, and it's managed by my SLA to support people I can support and do the work I'm supposed to do. Now,
do you think the salaries are too much?
It depends on individuals how you assess it.
So much has been said about salaries at the National
Let me
Assembly.
tell you, you don't want to have a senator who looks hungry coming to make your laws. I think if you have few senators and they're well paid, they will do the same job. You know what I'm saying? Some people have been asking for cut in salary and cut in that and cut in that. If you cut the salary, trust Nigerians, there must be a way out. That's the problem we're having. You see, now you said you pay governors 650,000 naira every month. A governor of a state. Let's take for instance that the governor stays with 650,000 naira every month.
That's his legal or her legal entitlement.
So what would that look like for a governor of a state? In fact, he can hardly change his shoes. And people depend on him and all that. The relations will come to him. You see, the problem is once you get elected or appointed in this country, the barrage of this our family system, which is called extended family system, will run up. Calls every day. People hang around you every day. This is what we are trying to discourage. Because if we have developed the productive sector of the economy, my friend, don't disturb me, go and work. Go to this factory and work. Hey, this factory is taking a job, go and work. Until we do this thing, we'll turn people into beggars or executive beggars in this country. So it's relative, like I said before. Those who how much is a house in Abuja here? And not all senators are buoyant, not all senators are former governors, not all senators are former ministers. What if you elect somebody who is a teacher and you're bringing him here? Why would he stay? Why will he get his house? So if you know you're not paying him well, don't bring him at all. Nobody is receiving the right salary in Nigeria. And in Nigeria, if you don't have a second office, you can hardly depend on that salary.
Yeah, well, people have actually suggested that some of these positions should be made part-time, which is another suggestion to reduce the cost. That why should the National Assembly, for example, sit 4 times or 3 times a week? Why don't they sit once a month? There are assemblies in other parts of the world that are part-time assemblies. They don't sit every day.
Yeah, but what would they be doing? Within that 1 month, they're not doing anything.
The second office you mentioned.
Okay, until you create that, then you can introduce this. Because it's asking a man to sit idle, doing nothing. And idle mind is the devil's workshop. So I think we're getting all this things all mixed up.
No. It's important that you're offering this clarification because I think people can now follow what you are getting at.
Yes.
Brings me to something else now,
Yes.
which is security or the lack thereof. You mentioned it earlier on when you were talking about kidnapping and what is going on in the Northeast and so on. That issue has assumed a much bigger dimension.
Yeah.
And it has spread virtually nationwide. Before, as you pointed out, it was confined largely to the Northeast and the Boko Haram problem. But now you have banditry and cattle rustling in the Northwest, Zamfara, Kebbi, Sokoto, and a number of other places. In the Middle Belt, you have the herdsmen and the farmers clashing. In the Southeast, you also have kidnapping, and you have other forms of banditry and armed robbery there. That has also spread to the Southwest, and of course, there is the latent militancy that was ever present in the South-South. Is this being addressed properly, in your view?
You see, let me say this, and one of the problems we have in this country is speaking the truth hurts, and sometimes you are misunderstood. And so in our conventional politics, you should keep silence on some sensitive issues, or you get the political backlash at your detriment. But what I want to say to you, before, assuming you're a doctor, and you see some symptoms, for every symptom, there's a disease. And if you are curing the symptoms without curing the disease, the symptoms will never stop. And the point I'm making here is that there's a correlationship between poverty and insecurity. Anywhere you see high level of insecurity or crime, look beneath it, there's high level of poverty. And that's what we want to address.
How?
That's a disease. Poverty, illiteracy. If you address all these things, crime on itself will go down.
But your party has been addressing, your party-led government has been
that's what
doing
I'm
so.
saying.
So is it that
But
it's
the
not
question
doing
is
it
that
enough or the results
where
are slow?
the resources to fight that? Depending on one source of income called the oil, with a heavy government bloated with executive and legislature, how are you going to do that? And we have to make sure we touch everywhere and do everything to make sure we help out. Yet none of this, these are social services. None of this is going towards revenue generation or going towards helping the productive sector of our economy. Because listen, the problem we have in this, our economic system, and that's why when I listen to our economists, I wish I can learn from them. We treat capital like accountants, like money with which you start a business, or pay and buy and sell, and income and expenditure. But the wise economist treats capital as wealth set aside for the production of further wealth. And that should be the pivot upon which our economic idea should rotate. So there's nothing producing. Look at the money we have put in works now. What is going? It's just going to tie the roads and build houses. What have you said? Where is the production sector? And that brings me to the issue of power. But where's the money? It's capital intensive. If I say to you now that this discourse were wrongly given, again, it's another controversy for Rochas.
No, but if they were wrongly given, you should be able to say so.
Of course, that's what I'm saying. That's another controversy. I'm telling you here.
But government has spent a lot of money on this power sector still.
Yeah, but
by the last count.
Excuse me. Energy is expensive everywhere in the world. This is not a non-starter business. To go and handle the energy of a country. And today, what is working in Nigeria is generator. And somehow it looks like people are killing this idea of bringing the power. Because if you bring the entire generator in Nigeria and sell them, it might give you one big power plant, even 10 to supply 10 states. But these things are not allowed to work. So it's a systematic thing. Your country is not just the way people say it. There are basic things that the disease must be taken care of for you to start seeing these symptoms. So if you say, for instance, let me also help you. If you are talking, for instance, the issue of, we're talking about insecurity and poverty, yes, and this thing. And I said to you, some of them are related. The question is that what can you do to remove poverty in Nigeria?
What can you do to remove poverty? And I don't mean you personally.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. I mean, what can we do to get out of this poverty and create jobs and create a middle class? Because the problem we have now is that middle class will be fast disappearing. And when there's a middle class disappears, you have a failed nation. And any nation, let me give you, before I answer that question, any nation where you see people having a private jet set is a failing nation. Any nation where you see people, everybody going with private security, that nation is about to collapse. Any nation where you see people having a private boreholes in their houses, that nation is about to collapse. Any nation where you see people, private schools are doing well, better than public schools, is a sign of failure. But this requires funding. And I'm saying to you, that comes back to cutting the cost of governance, cost of electioneering, cost of executive, cost of legislature, cost of everything we do. And we will target on the productive sector of the economy. Let power, let light shine. Let light come. Set up educational system that is intended that will marry our economy. Everything here is like a structural problem. Because even the education that we give, talking about educating poverty, is not helping our system. The education that Nigeria should focus now is a vocational education. It's a technical education, service-oriented education, much more than the degree in government, degree in biology, degree in religious studies, degree in zoology, degree in this. It doesn't make sense. But I wish we can set up institution. That's how to remove poverty. Institution, like, listen to me, institution for barbing to get a certificate, institution for plastering, for POP, for light, institution, small certificate courses to help our economy. We begin to turn our education to help our economy. So the human capital development is all directed in the wrong direction. That's why you see engineers who have no job and the master's holder, PhDs, looking for a job because the degree is not relevant to take off for economy. This is what exactly I'm talking about in terms of how to take care of this. But you must reduce recurrency and begin to build capital in the productive sector of our economy. It's not a magic, that's the only thing you can do. And then you begin to do the basic things that you must do to help the system, and that whatever you can now fund. How much is our budget this year? 10-point-something trillion. Okay, out of that 10-point-something trillion, tell me how much is going for overhead, how much is going for capital, and those capital geared towards eradicating poverty? When you don't do that, what do you get? Consequences is crime. I wept for people of Borno who have stayed like 10 years now, children not going to school. Some of them will never go back to school again because they have missed classes. Some of them are 50 years old now, no more going to school. 40 years now, 30 years old, they can't go to school. That's a bomb waiting to explode in the future. We're not even planning against that now. I hope this Northeast Development Commission will address that first. Because they might not even get to what to address first. That the issue is education of these children is more important than anything else.
I guess it just remains for me to say, thank you very much for speaking with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
God bless. Thank you.
That's Newsnight. Do let's hear from you on what you've heard today and much more. The handles are right there on your screen. I'm Ladi Akeredoluale. Thanks for joining us, and goodbye.